The 06-07 NBA season had its moments, some of which included the Denver Nuggets and New York Knicks brawl that happened on December 16th, which saw 7 players get suspended and a punch from the current leading scorer. Also, Allen Iverson's 11-year career with the 76ers eventually ended after getting dealt to this guy's team, and Kobe's remarkable 4 consecutive 50-plus point games joined Wilt as the only 2 players to have 4 consecutive 50-point games. All of this was capped off by a San Antonio Spurs sweep of the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA Finals. The 07 offseason would soon follow suit, comprising of controversy, rejections, and trades that would forever shape NBA history. A player who initially had no aspirations to play for the club he would eventually win his first championship with. Let's take a deeper look on what influenced Kevin Garnett's opinion about the Celtics. With the Timberwolves failing to make the playoffs for the 3rd straight season, the former MVP Kevin Garnett was heavily committed to Minnesota for 12 years as he consistently refused to push for a trade. But that all came to a halting stop as Glenn Taylor, the owner of the Timberwolves, had expressed that he'd be taking the team in a different direction, rebuilding. And of course, KG, who was 30 years old at the time, was not happy about this change, as he was still seeking that ever so precious Larry O'Brien trophy. So with the Wolves out of the playoff picture, Garnett had no choice but to agree to a trade, and he would have a lot of say in that decision. And so it began. The pursuit for Kevin Garnett was in full swing, but the big man was only interested in joining a couple teams. Both the LA Lakers and Phoenix Suns were at the top of his list, and seemingly enough, Kevin wanted no part of joining the Celtics. I mean, who would? They had just finished the season with the worst record in the Eastern Conference, and their star player Paul Pierce looked like he was on his way out, due to management not being able to surround him with sufficient talent. And Kevin even rejected the first trade attempt between the Wolves and the Celtics, which included him. So legitimate championship potential and also a warm weather city was something Boston couldn't provide. But Phoenix did have a warm weather city, and they also had a good case for acquiring Garnett, at least from the outside looking in. On the plus side, Steve Nash and Kevin Garnett had become good friends over the past few years, as Kevin was one of the first players to congratulate Nash on his MVP trophy in 2005. Also, sources close to the situation claimed the Suns as the preferred destination above all. But unfortunately, for the Suns, there were numerous complications. For one, Garnett expressed his interest in playing with Amari Stoudemire as well, but consequently, it looked like Amari would be dealt in the deal if Garnett was to be traded to Phoenix. Secondly, Sean Marion wasn't exactly fond of the idea of playing in Minnesota or Boston, and made it very well known. Plus, he was set to become a free agent the next season, which would mean he would only be a 1-year rental. And lastly, Steve Nash actually called Garnett and made it genuinely clear that the Suns did not have full cap space, which would result in Garnett having to take a pay cut. And due to all these factors, it made it extremely difficult for the Suns to work out a deal with the Timberwolves, as it was reported on June 26, 2007 that a 3-way trade was in the works, but mainly Sean Marion's reluctancy to play for a team that was not giving him the max was a key stumbling block. On the LA side of things, Garnett was keen on playing with Kobe, and who wouldn't be, especially if you're chasing a ring. The Lakers had just finished 7th the season prior, but quickly got knocked out in the first round by none other than the Phoenix Suns. But what was more troubling than their lack of depth was the news circulating that Bryant demanded a trade request. And Kobe would only rescind his trade demand if the Lakers terminated who was ever responsible for the leak rumor that Bryant was responsible for O'Neal's departure. So it was pretty clear that Kobe was having issues with the Lakers organization at the time, which ultimately set off a red flag for Garnett. He went on to say, "I'm thinking, this is their number 1 player, and he's going through all of this. What's it going to be like for me?" So with all this taking place, Boston still somehow remained in the picture. It was on June 21st, 2007 that Kevin Garnett denied a potential trade that would send him to Boston. And as his agent Andy Miller would put it, Boston is not a destination we're interested in pursuing. So how on earth was Boston able to acquire Garnett? It was only a week later, on June 28, 2007, just days before the news report had gone out that a Phoenix trade was in the works for Garnett. And this trade by Boston ultimately bridged the gap between Garnett and the Celtics and proved they were serious about being legitimate championship contenders. Boston acquired sharpshooter Ray Allen in exchange for Delonte West, Wally Szczerbiak, and the 2007 number 5 pick, which was Jeff Green. And just like that, Boston showed they had a fighting chance to acquire Garnett and were determined to keep Pierce happy. But probably the most pivotal moment would come when Garnett tried reaching out to Kobe to help weigh out his options. Unfortunately for the Lakers, Kobe was in China at the time doing his Nike tour, and according to Garnett, he couldn't get in contact with Kobe at all, leaving Kevin to make a decision for himself. A few missed calls and texts ultimately paved the way for two players to come to his aid. So on July 20th, 2007, Danny Ainge flew to California to meet with Garnett at his house and discuss what the future would hold if Kevin agreed to join the Celtics. According to Garnett, it was the simplest negotiation he's been through, but the 90-minute convo still left Garnett feeling ambivalent about the situation. That's when the big man contacted two players/friends, which were Chauncey Billups and Ty Lue. Both players explained to Garnett that forgetting about Minnesota would be his best bet if he wants to win a ring. Also, they explained that the Boston situation presented the best of circumstances by pairing him up with both Paul Pierce and Ray Allen, the best wing duo in the league. Furthermore, being in the Eastern Conference would prove to be way easier to win than the powerful Western Conference. And well, those convos had a major influence and proved to be the decisive factor for Garnett. So on July 31st, 2007, Minnesota got the green light from Garnett to make the move. Boston acquired Kevin Garnett in exchange for Al Jefferson, Ryan Gomes, Gerald Green, Theo Ratliff, Sebastian Telfair, and two 2009 first-round picks in a blockbuster trade that would shake the basketball world. And well, the rest is history. Boston turned from being the second worst team in the league to the best team in a single season, jumping from 24 wins to 66. The Celtics went on to eliminate the Hawks in 7, Cavs in 7, Pistons in 6, and their rival Lakers in 4. It's crazy to think how different history could have been written if Kobe got the call from Garnett. We may very well could have seen a Kobe and Garnett duo. And who knows, maybe they would have won multiple rings, or maybe none. Nevertheless, the 07-08 Boston Celtics were a legendary team, and the way they came together is something that more than meets the eye, comprised of deep conflicts, missed calls, and rejections, especially to the team he would later end up on. Well, you know what they say.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible!